So around the time I started the Jupiter interviews video, something else was being brought up. When I first heard about it, I almost wanted to include it in the Jupiter vid, but by the time I had a good idea of what was going on, I was far too into making that video to stop and try to include it without having to seriously restructure everything. So I figured just make it its own video. Before I get into what's going on with Linda Binda, I want to make a few things clear here. I am not saying any of these accusations against Linda are true, nor am I going to say they are false. I'm going to try and present them as fairly as I can, and I will give my 2 cents on everything, but I'm gonna do my best to remain as neutral as I can here. This is a relatively new situation, so things may come out later while I'm making this video that render what I'm gonna say here completely irrelevant. I hope that's not the case, but that's a possibility. Also, just so you guys understand where I'm coming from, I don't know Linda. I have never interacted with them. I have only watched their videos related to Jupiter, so I'm neither a fan or a hater of Linda, just to make that clear. Alright, think I've covered my bases here. Let's get into this. So, these accusations all surround Discord, which I swear if there's ever some drama or a scandal with a content creator, it's either on Twitter or Discord, or both. But on February 8th of this year, a Kiwi Farms user uploaded screenshots of minors being in Linda's Discord server, some of them being as young as 13 years old. There are also adults in the server, and one screenshot showed someone being 40 years old, or at least claiming they are. More evidence came from an anonymous source that reached out to another YouTuber named Evil White Bowser, which shows that there are roles on the server, and one in particular is a designated minor role with an icon of a bird. To get role assigned, all you have to do is check a little box that says, are you a minor or are you 18? And if you press you're not 18, then you get tagged as a minor. The anonymous source also goes on to show that in the gaming channel of this server, Linda had a message stating how people could friend them on Roblox, meaning adults or minors could potentially play Roblox with them. There's also a channel called Introduce Yourself where people openly state their age. There's also a paid subscriber section with different tiers, but as far as I know, nobody has confirmed what sort of content is actually there. I've seen some people in comments on some of the vids of going over this stuff, or some of the community posts going over stuff, that there's like NSFW stuff in there, but as far as I know, that's a rumor and I haven't seen anything that backs that up. But after all this stuff started gaining attention recently, people reported that the server had been nuked and that a new server is now up, and there was something strange about that. People are reporting that they were getting warnings about the server and that the connection is not private and that the website may be impersonating a legitimate Discord page to steal personal info or financial information. This led to people alleging that Linda is using an IP grabber to try and get the personal information of people joining or trying to investigate what's going on with Linda. Club Doom acquired the link and ran it through VirusTotal, and the results came back as phishing and malicious. He later checked with NordVPN's site tracker, and they said it's clean. Others are claiming that it's a simple SSL cert error, which can occur when the browser fails to recognize the installed SSL certificate, or the certificate authority is either invalid or just not recognized by the browser. And this can lead to errors indicating that the site is potentially dangerous, even though it might not be. Now this can happen if, say, the certificate installation didn't complete properly on the servers hosting the website. If there is an incomplete installation, it shows one cert file and a broken red chain. The error can also occur when the server itself issues the SSL and not a certificate authority cert, so the browser just doesn't trust it. So it doesn't necessarily mean the site itself is malicious or that there is any IP grabber or anything like that in play. So I found the link on our link tree and I plugged it into 3 different site checkers, including Norton, Trend Micro, and Site Checker. All 3 came back as clean. Even as an extra precaution, I went to VirusTotal and put the link there. One checker did mark it as suspicious, but every other one that's on the VirusTotal site came back clean. So the warnings people were getting could have been an SSL error, of course. I'm not saying this is likely, but of course, that could also mean that Linda simply removed whatever malicious thing was on there after a while, or by the time I checked it. Because one thing I did notice in the VirusTotal, it did say it was last modified on April 5th. Now, of course, it doesn't tell me what that modification was, or if that means that there was something malicious there before, or anything like that. As far as I can tell, the link is safe. I will say this though, it is kind of shady that the server got nuked once people started having questions about it. That doesn't sound like something an innocent person would do. Now, Linda has also stated in comment sections that this isn't their server and that they're not in charge of anything, that they did not make the server at all. I've heard others saying that it's a fan server that Linda just hangs out in and posts messages in. And that the server apparently requires you to be 18 or older with an ID verification before you can even discuss Jupiter to Hybrid. But others have pointed out that if it's not Linda's server, then what were those paid subscription tiers? Because I noticed that in the tiers it says you get access to never before seen TikToks, and that sounds like something Linda would have to set up. Not to mention, Linda did have the server on their link tree, so it seems that Linda has a little bit more input in the server than they're letting on here. Going back to the server itself, it is weird that the server allows minors in it, giving Linda's content. It doesn't strike me as age appropriate for minors. However, realistically, what can you do to keep minors out? Like, you could request someone send you a picture of their ID, but if a minor's clever enough, they could just have a fake ID, because I mean, those are a thing. Or they could take a picture of a relative's ID and say it's theirs when, you know, the relative's not looking or whatever. Plus, I doubt most would be comfortable with showing their government ID to some stranger on the internet. I wouldn't want to do that. If someone asked me that, I'd just be like, nah, I'm good. You can keep whatever it is you're showing over there. They could restrict the server to 18 plus, as there's a way to mark a server like that. But again, minors be lying about their age, so they could get around that if they really want to. And I know minors be lying about their age because when I was a minor, I did that. I would always, whenever I had an age gate thing, I'd set my birthday to like 1970 something to bypass that. So minors are going to get in if they really want to, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try if your content channel are centered around dark subject matter, like what Linda covers. At least when it comes to Jupiter, maybe their other content is way more, you know, lighthearted than like a minor, maybe like a teenager could watch it. I've also seen servers where there are sections that are marked 18 plus, but there's general chats that aren't age restricted. So the server could have had a similar setup. I looked at the unedited footage of like the evidence that I guess the anonymous source presented. When looking at the channels, I don't see anything that screamed NSFW. The only thing that you maybe could argue that, but I think it's a little bit of a stretch because they don't actually show what's in this channel, is there is a channel with the title Selfie, but the person recording this doesn't show that channel, maybe because it has minors like taking selfies and they don't want to, you know, potentially dox them, which is understandable. But it doesn't show like the rules they have in there. So I don't know if, you know, NSFW selfies were allowed. You know, I don't want to make that claim without some proof of that. I went and checked Liquid Chris's and Jacob Sockness's video, and they went into the selfie channel. They censored people's faces for privacy reasons. And, you know, we don't want to dox anybody here. But at no point did they say any of the selfies were sexual or lewd, but they did note that the ones they looked at did appear underage, or, you know, could pass for underage. So likely there are minors posting selfies in there, but as they didn't highlight anything as, you know, worse than that. So, you know, make of that as you will. But I do think it's weird to have minors posting pictures of themselves and stuff, especially with adults present. That does sound like it could be a recipe for disaster or for something inappropriate to happen. Not only that, but there is also a mental health channel where minors are also present. It seems like minors can access this channel too, along with adults, and they can vent about personal issues. Linda makes an appearance in this, and they mention a disclaimer because someone, I think, did something that violated one of the rules or was getting close to doing that. The rules on the top of the channel state that you cannot attack or abuse someone, and includes a crisis line number if people need help. The worst I can say about that channel, depending on what the person's going to get about, it might not be age appropriate for a minor to hear that, depending on what's being said. But I wasn't seeing anything in there that stood out as potentially predatory. The only thing I did find that was inappropriate for a minor is the names of the subscription tiers, as all of them have been Dussy in the title, which I don't think I need to explain that's not appropriate for minors, but given the fact you got to pay for them, I don't think it's super likely a minor is getting access to these. Unless they stole their parents' credit card, their parents just do not care and don't pay attention to what their kid be doing online, but that's a whole other can of worms. But there is one last thing that does potentially make Linda look bad. I'm sorry, there's actually two things. One is Jacob Sockness, yes, the actual Jacob Sockness was investigating this, and apparently when he was in the server, he got a role assigned to him that was labeled Daddy, which, again, that's a little weird. It's a little bit weird.
There's another one. They're all like between like 16 to like 20. There's mine when I first joined it. Name classified 40, he, him, father. hobbies, researching the deep state occult, globalism. Favorite color, royal purple. Okay. And then they immediately gave me the tag. They gave me the tag daddy. And then they took it off like 30 minutes later. And then after that, it just kind of fell off.
But that's not the only thing, no. You see, Linda was in a public server for another content creator named CCDN, and apparently there was a minor in this server, along with someone who was allegedly a known PDF file, according to Liquid Chris, because they're the ones who posted this. But later on, Liquid Chris asked Linda about the server and why they were in there, and why they didn't say anything about a minor being in a server with a alleged known pedophile. I'm saying alleged because I don't know anything about this person, and I don't, know who they are. But I'll play Linda's response to that.
Am I British? No. Someone asked, why were you in a server with a known PEDO and a minor and did nothing about it? I actually do not know what you're talking about. So please take that somewhere else. You might have the wrong person. I don't know what you're talking about.
The only thing that this seems to prove is that Linda was in the server, but it could be possible they genuinely don't know who the alleged PDF is, because I don't know who that is. I don't know what they've done. Allegedly. And if anyone in my comment section knows who the alleged PDF is, can you tell me? Hell, I'm in several servers and there are probably dozens of people in there that I don't know anything about or what they're like. So it's plausible that Linda just does not know. One can't address something if they don't know it's happening. And the screenshots doesn't prove that Linda saw the kid saying they're 15 or that they had any knowledge that the person was a predator, or is a predator, I should say, allegedly. Now, the thing that is a little bit odd is how fast they got timed out by Linda, well, Linda's mod anyway, when Liquid Chris brought this up. And it looks like they even got banned. I won't lie, that does look suspicious, but I could chalk that up to an overly aggressive / protective mod or something. Or it could be Linda's trying to hide something. I should also mention that Liquid Chris and Jacob Sockness had a TikTok video up talking about the Discord server. And Linda left a comment on the video, and shortly after that, it seems like the video was taken down for harassment and bullying, apparently. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. As far as I'm aware, that is everything that we know about what's going on about this accusation / drama with Linda. So let's just wrap this up. Oh man, I don't know what to make of this. The evidence we have doesn't show Linda being a creep or anything, so the people jumping, claiming that, I think they might be jumping the gun. You might want to pump the brakes a little bit. So far, the only thing I can say is it just seems like they're willing to associate with minors on Discord, despite aspects of their content not being appropriate for minors. And that could be weird, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, Linda's trying to groom them or anything like that. I do agree that it's might not be a good look and could be a potential cause of issues, because adults interacting with minors, there's always a chance that someone in that server does something inappropriate with a minor, so you're just kind of inviting that risk, and that's definitely a fair criticism I think you can have. There also wasn't any channels that explicitly stated that they were NSFW, so we don't have any proof that there's anything sexual happening there. Of course, just because we don't have proof of something doesn't mean that something isn't happening, but we also can't say that it is happening if we don't have any proof. As for the ownership of the server thing, I don't think Linda's being 100% truthful about that, because of the monetized aspects of it, since it shows that people could get access to never before seen videos on TikTok. So to me, it doesn't seem like Linda's being honest there. So that would mean that Linda most likely has a high degree of control over the server, and you could probably argue Linda was part owner of the server. It could have started as a fan server, but as it grew and Linda became aware of it, Linda just sort of made it an official server. That's possible. Now, we could argue that being vague or dishonest about the ownership of the server is a sign that there's something going on there, and that there is a possibility there was something sinister happening there, especially since it suddenly got wiped and Linda likely either did it on their own or convinced the other owners to wipe it. But we haven't seen anything definitive, so we really don't know. as for the alleged IP grabber, as I said, I ran through 4 different security checkers, and outside of one of the checkers on Virus Total coming back as suspicious, but all the other ones on that site coming back as, safe, nothing came up. So I'm just gonna say the link is clean. Could there have been an IP grabber on that link in the past that was removed by the time I checked it, but was there when Club Doom and others were looking at it? Possibly. Could it have been an SSL error? That's also possible. I'm just gonna lean towards an SSL error, but arrive at your own conclusion. The Liquid Chris TikTok video getting taken down after Linda commented on it could be Linda false flagging it, but I'm not familiar with how TikTok works, so I don't know if there's any way to prove if someone reported it as bullying or if some bot did. Who knows? It could have been a Linda stan for all we know who just didn't like the idea of someone criticizing Linda. Who knows? And then there's a claim that Linda was sending minors to Jupiter and putting them in harm's way. I don't know where this claim is coming from, but I've seen people parroting it, but I've yet to see any proof of that, so what am I supposed to do with it? I would hope it's not true, but again, we don't have any proof, so I'm just gonna assume it isn't for now. But at this time, we don't have a smoking gun here as far as from what I've seen. So, is Linda a groomer? Is Linda innocent? I don't know. I guess we gotta wait and see if anyone else comes forward with some good evidence of Linda doing something wrong here. Wrong in that regard, at least. Alright, I'm getting a headache thinking about this. I've never felt so unsure of what to make of a situation like this. Normally when I cover people on the show, it's clear cut what they did, but this? Nah, there's way too many unknowns here. The only thing that I can confirm is that Linda hangs out with minors in a Discord server, potentially, and on Roblox, but, no one has said that anything inappropriate has happened and had proof, so we can't really say much yet. But that's where we're gonna stop. Let me know what you guys think about this. I'm gonna go crash. Y'all have a good one. If you liked the video, leave a like, comment, consider subscribing, all that stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna head out.
Wow.